And when you support 100 Huntley Street, the heartbeat of this ministry, we often say, is our prayer lines. People who answer the phone every day, and one of the big calls we get is about marriage, relationships, the guy I'm living with, all of that. And so we're delighted to welcome therapist Tara Lalonde here. Tara, thank you so much. I have been married 37 years. I get it, why people call to talk about, things are just kind of challenging. And we get so many calls that are coming in on relationship issues. Let's just back up. You're a therapist, you've got your master's degree, your PhD in helping couples unpack, and you've got a family counseling business. What really is the purpose of marriage? What's God's ideal on it?
Good question, because our culture has one idea of what it is, and I don't believe that's God's intent. Our culture says it's about me and my needs, and I need to be happy, and that's the purpose of marriage, to complete me. Taking from the movie quote from years ago, I think, taking from Gary Thomas, God's purpose for marriage is to make us holy, not necessarily happy. And I believe we can be happy when we are holy and relying on Him and being the spouse that He's called us to be, regardless of whether our spouse cooperates.
So is it realistic, are you an advocate that all problems in marriage should be fixable?
It's a good question. I think all problems can be fixed. I don't know that all problems are fixed, because both people need to be willing to work at it. If a spouse is abusing another spouse, yeah, that can be fixed. That can be redeemed, absolutely. But the abuser and the one abused need to be able to work at this and learn how to do things differently.
Okay, so
if the abuser doesn't want to, then I don't know that that can be fixed.
When we get a lot of calls about abuse, and we encourage people to get out and get safety, but let's just talk about irritating. He's not pulling his weight. She's not responsive to my friends. She makes my mother feel awkward. Let's just talk about those major irritating things. I don't agree with how we're running our finances. Can I still be happy if my marriage is not perfect?
Yes, 100% you can be happy even if your marriage is not perfect, even if you don't have a healthy marriage. You can have a happy marriage.
How?
But the key is, and this came out of the research that I did with my PhD, one of the key pieces is taking personal responsibility for your side of things, not waiting for your spouse to be the one to make things better. There's no power over there. But when we take control, when we rely on God and pray and look at how can I be the wife God has called me to be. My spouse doesn't have to be the husband that God calls him to be for me to have that. And I get well done, good and faithful servant.
So work on yourself. Work on yourself. Make yourself happy, and the relationship is the bonus then.
Yeah.
What does God want us to do for our spouses? What do you think? What do you think the goal would be?
And that's a good question. It's not just our culture says it's all about my happiness, but in marriage, I believe God wants us to be healthy and holy, and to love our spouse even when they are being unlovable. So that's a key. For me to get well done, good and faithful servant as the wife He's called me to be, I need to take care of my well-being, my own happiness, my own health, and then I need to love sacrificially my spouse, regardless whether he deserves it or not. And let's be honest, so often we don't deserve the love of our spouse.
So we get a lot of calls. Like by the end of today, the prayer lines alone, I know we're doing the finance lines today, that's the 1-888 number you see there. We do need your gift. But by the end of today, over 1,000 phone calls will come in. And many of them are about, I'm hurting in my marriage, or, my husband's left me, or they're from kids, people that are hurt about what's going on in the family. What difference does it make to have a prayer line for that kind of moment in your life?
It makes a huge difference. And I want to say, I don't want to minimize what's going on. It's painful. The real life things people deal with are really difficult. And what the prayer line can do, counseling and working through, is a long process. It's effective, but it's long. The prayer line gives an opportunity to regularly be able to get prayer, that somebody who cares for you is listening, understands what you're going for, feels you, so you can feel heard and understood. And then you're tapping into the source.
Yeah, Dr. Mullen yesterday told us it's supernatural. Like you're actually getting some supernatural input on how you moderate your own behavior so you can help and heal what's going on.
Absolutely. God can empower you and make things better just by being prayed for and by seeking God in prayer. So this is powerful.
So as a therapist, would you endorse our prayer lines?
Absolutely. 100%.
That they're needed.
They're needed.
Wow, when you hear 1,000 calls a day, it's so unusual, isn't it? That there's a service like this free in the country that people are calling. Amazing.
Absolutely. And I encourage people, call, do this.
Call the prayer lines. Tara, you are just a wonderful family therapist for us. You're on call often for our questions and curiosities here. Tara Lalonde, family therapist. Really appreciate that. And as she said, it is when you fuel the ability for people to talk, families get better, individuals get better because they are introduced to Jesus. They're prayed for supernaturally. Don't you want that in your family life? I do. I need it every day. But give us a call at 1-888-288-0003 and you can help donate, give to help our prayer line stay strong for all those 1,000 plus calls every day that arrive here at the ministry.